Imagine being on top of the world, only to lose it all in a heartbeat. This is the story of Paul Rush, a man whose ambition led to his downfall. It was a humid evening during fiesta season in 1989, but the waiter at San Antonio's Republic of Texas restaurant was not in a festive mood. Paul Adams Rush, once a promising young vice president at Frost National Bank, now wore a waiter's apron, his name monogrammed on it. Just weeks earlier, he had been wearing a custom-tailored pinstripe suit, being groomed for a top position at the bank. In 1983, the local Jaycees had named Rush, then only 24, their outstanding young man of San Antonio. By the late 80s, he was a rising star in local Republican circles, co-chairing George Bush's Bexar County presidential campaign in 1988. Despite his moderate $47,500 a year salary, Rush always had a supply of money, attending GOP fundraisers and contributing generously to campaigns. But on April 14, 1989, Rush's luminous prospects were eclipsed when he was summoned before a group of stone-faced bank officers and an auditor. Under close questioning, Frost Bank's golden boy admitted to systematically embezzling more than $500,000 over 3 years. After being interrogated by the FBI, he was tried and convicted of misapplication of bank funds and willful tax evasion. In September 1990, he began serving a 27-month sentence at a federal minimum security facility in Millington, Tennessee. What made Paul Rush do what he did? Was it greed, a lust for power, or a desperate need to be somebody? Among many of Rush's detractors, the prevailing theory was blind ambition, an attempt to buy social access and influence among the rich. But there was another, more forgiving theory. Rush stole because he desperately wanted to be somebody, in a hurry. Paul Rush had grown up in Dallas' notoriously snobbish Park Cities area, always in the shadow of his identical twin, Parker. When Paul moved to San Antonio to attend Trinity University in 1978, his goal was to earn a business degree and make himself over. By the end of his freshman year, he had lost weight, become more outgoing, and joined a popular fraternity. Rush became the administration's darling, inspiring such trust that he was allowed to sit in on committee meetings of Trinity's Board of Trustees. Within a month of graduating in 1982, Rush was working at Frost Bank as a credit analyst, quickly rising through the ranks. Rush worked hard, but he also understood that success meant putting in more than banker's hours, networking relentlessly. Sunday was not a day of rest for the ambitious social climber. He attended the 11 o'clock service at First Presbyterian Church. Rush's years of tireless campaign work paid off when George Bush was elected president, making him just a couple of phone calls away from power. But 5 months later, on a fateful day in April, that hard-won influence came to a cataclysmic end. A small group of Frost Bank's officers and its top auditor called Rush into a room at the bank, confronting him with the evidence. Rush admitted to misapplying fees from numerous loans, promising to make eventual restitution to the bank in the amount of $537,446. When I visited Rush at his home in August 1990, he had been forced to lease out his spacious colonial-style house. Rush, dressed with starched correctness, was as round-cheeked as a Cabbage Patch doll, his manner courteous and soft-spoken. Characteristically, Rush was more eager to talk about the friends and prominent people who had stood by him than of the crime that caused his downfall. Rush insisted that he intended to pay the money back, but that once he got into his scam, it became an addictive illness. As our conversation wound down, I found myself thinking about how Rush's rise and fall had been driven by a tragic internal logic. He was simply a little man who wanted to be a big man, acknowledging that his altruism was not totally pure. Crime, it's a desperate shortcut for those who want to be somebody. Don't let ambition blind you. Stay true, stay honest.